How can one message about staying over for safety turn into papers delivered under bright lobby lights? Why did I believe a night at another man's place from the club was only practical and brave, not the start of rules, dates, and a new key that didn't match our home? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I'm Isola Vane, 32, the front desk at a small co-working space. I live with my husband, Ethan Cole, in a neat townhouse with quiet walls. Our wall planner hangs by the fridge, and our two mugs sit on opposite counters, mine by the kettle and his near the sink. I tell people we are fine. I tell myself the same when the rooms feel bright in a hard way. Last night I said I would stay overnight at a guy's place after the club. I called it safety and networking. I told Ethan it was smarter than rides at 2 a.m. He asked why a wife needs another man's spare room when her own bed waits at home. I said adults plan ahead. He did not raise his voice. He carried a pillow to the guest room and said he needed sleep. The door latch clicked like a small stamp. Ria, my sister, texted that city girls know the rules. His mother, Marjorie, sent one calm line about keeping the house steady for Liam's weekend. On the planner, a pencil note appeared, downtown 9:25. A phone alert blinked. Meeting, personal, and went dark. The printer warmed and slid out a single blank page. The toner smell sat in the air like cold dust. I hid a club patio clip in a private folder and told myself people hate bold women until they clap. The kitchen looked like a stage I could fix. I wiped the counter, even though it was clean. I set 2 mugs in their usual places, mine by the kettle and his near the sink. 2 mugs mean marriage. I like that picture. The wall planner by the fridge showed neat boxes. A new pencil note sat there that I did not write. Downtown 9:25. I traced the numbers with my finger and told myself it was a bank errand or a shoe repair. I said it was not about me. Ethan came in with that quiet that changes a room. He asked how I slept. I said, well, because well is a lid. He asked if I had thought about what I said last night. I said I was being smart and safe. He asked why a wife needs another man's spare bed when her own house is 5 stops away. I said adults plan ahead in the city. He looked at the planner, not at me. I poured water over tea leaves and let the steam soften the air. My phone lit with Ria's message. She said city girls know the rules and men must catch up. I held the screen up as proof. Ethan said sisters protect sisters. I said husbands should protect wives. He took a different mug from the back of the shelf and poured coffee at the far counter. Distance can be louder than a shout. I opened the long drawer for napkins and saw a thin binder labeled Utilities. It was too thick for bills. There were new plastic sleeves and clean tabs. A yellow sticky note rested on top. Bring forms. I closed the drawer like I was putting a lid on a pot. I said we were getting very organized. He said, order helps a home live. I said order is a hobby, not a life. I rolled my shoulders and picked my words like stones across water. I said Dante's place is 2 blocks from the club, and rides at 2 a.m. are messy and unsafe. I said women must have safe beds on busy nights. Ethan asked why it must be Dante's bed. I said it was a couch or a guest room. He should not make it sound like a sin. He said respect is not a sin. I said he was being old-fashioned. He looked at the window and breathed slow. The kettle clicked off. I set our 2 mugs closer together and stepped back to see the picture. If the picture looks right, the day follows. I typed a message to him and read it out loud while I wrote. I said, public fear is loud right now, so we should post a photo and show we are fine. I said, silence gives power to gossip. The message showed delivered and then nothing. Silence is a plan when a person wants a plan. The printer on the side table warmed and pushed out a blank page. The toner smell sat in the air like cold dust. I held the page up to the light as if words might appear. Nothing did. I set it down, smooth and white. My arm hairs rose anyway. I put on a neat top, the one with the soft collar. I said I would meet a friend for breakfast before work, which was a lie that felt like a coat. In truth, I wanted to walk alone and rehearse my words so they would be clean. I told him I would be home early. He said he would manage his day. He placed his spoon on the far edge of the sink like a border. I saw the new small key on his ring catch the light. He carried a pillow from the chair and walked to the guest room. He said he needed sleep. The door eased shut. The latch clicked like a stamp. I stood in the hall and looked at our cars through the window. His was parked nose out toward the street, ready to move. Mine faced the wall. I told myself that meant nothing, and that I was reading meaning where there was none. I took a breath and lifted my chin. I liked that pose in glass. On the porch, I met Mr. Velas at the mailbox. He asked if we were well. I said we were thriving, and made the word bright so it filled the space. He looked at the flyers as if paper could help him. I sent a quick story of my shoes and wrote, "City practical, city safe." The hearts came slow. Ria sent a crown emoji. Marjorie did not write back to my cheerful good morning. At the bus stop, I watched couples walk by and sorted them into people who understand rules and people who cling to feelings. I said I was the first kind, and that made me brave. I said brave women get heat first and respect later. The words kept me warm in the wind. By mid-morning, I came home to pick up a badge I had forgotten. The house held a stillness that was careful. On the dining table, Ethan's laptop sat open to a spreadsheet with initials and dates. They were in neat rows. As I stepped closer, the window minimized like a small door closing. He came from the hall and asked me not to use his computer. I said I was just passing by. He said he was keeping track, so he would not forget what mattered. I said, "Love does not need a ledger." He said, "Calm does." The air felt like a line. I asked if we could at least schedule a joint post tonight with a normal smile. He said our voices would be low and our steps simple. I said simple looks like defeat. He said simple looks like care. We looked at the planner together without speaking. The pencil note, downtown 925, seemed to grow a shadow. I left for work. On the sidewalk, a bike bell chimed and I flinched. In my pocket, the club patio clip rested in a hidden album. I told myself I'd put it away to be kind to him. I also told myself I might need it if people wanted context later. Both were true, which is how grown-ups live. Back at the kitchen that evening, I placed his mug and mine apart, the honest picture. I ran water and heard the pipes answer. My phone buzzed once. A text preview from unknown flashed and vanished before I could read it. I held the phone and waited for more. The screen stayed black. I put it face down and told myself I did not care. I did care. I set the table for two anyway. I folded the napkins the way restaurants do, like small tents. I said to the plates that we were fine. The plates did not talk back. The co-working lobby glowed with warm bulbs and big plants. I love the glass because it shows my outline, and I can adjust. I put on my badge and my neat smile. I told myself I would guide the story before lunch and make the afternoon quiet. At 10:10, a calendar pop-up slid across my monitor. Quick word at 10:30 from Gavin. I typed yes with a small sun emoji. I built my speech while I printed guest passes. Off hours are off limits, safety is mature, networking keeps rent paid. I said those lines in my head until they sounded like a script. At 10:30, I stepped into the HR corner with glass walls. Gavin asked how I was. I said focused. He asked if I knew a clip from a club patio was tagged with my name. I said yes and called it context-free. He said clients love calm spaces, not staff who trend with club lines about staying over for safety. I said, women need safe beds, and good men understand that. He said the company does not judge my private life, but optics matter. He asked me to keep posts low and avoid captions that invite debate. I said I would consider it, and that the internet hates honest women. He thanked me for being professional. I left with my spine straight because no form was handed to me. At the desk, Tala slid a stack of mail to me and said the clip looked loud. I laughed and called it independent woman energy. She nodded once and said I should drink water. I posted a throwback coffee photo to bury the tag and captioned it "Hustle and Kindness." The hearts came slow, like people saving their breath. I sent Ethan a line that said the office loved me, and his distance made me look guilty. I told him we should post something normal. The dots did not appear. At lunch, I walked to the pharmacy for lip balm and a pack of mints. I texted Ethan to meet me because the lights there are honest and force people to tell the truth. He arrived on time. He asked which days I could handle Liam's pickup this week. I said logistics were not love. He said logistics keep children safe when adults argue. I said we were not arguing, we were growing. He said he would not debate in a pharmacy. His phone lit with a call labeled private. He stepped outside, put on headphones, and paced under the awning. His mouth moved slow, the way a person shapes words they plan to keep. I watched through the window like I was outside my life. He came back and asked if I had what I needed. I said I needed him to say he trusted me. He said trust follows facts. I said facts follow stories. He bought the mints for me and tucked the receipt into his wallet with a neat fold. He said we would keep our voices low for Liam. Low voices can feel like rules. On my way back, Mr. Vela stood by the magazine rack. He asked if we were happy. I said we were thriving and made the word big. He opened a gardening issue and stared at roses like they could explain people. The afternoon rolled. I checked in guests, printed badges, and smiled at freelancers who loved to say the word pitch. I felt good at my job. Goodness should count somewhere. When I reached home, the house carried that faint toner smell, as if paper had been breathing. The small printer on the desk warmed and slid a blank page into the tray. I touched it. It was still warm, like a caught breath. On the dining table, Ethan's laptop showed a spreadsheet again with initials and dates in clean rows. I stepped closer to read and the window minimized. He came from the hall and asked me not to look. I said I was just passing by. He said he was keeping track so he could stay calm. I said I was the one doing the active work. He said calm is work. His phone flashed, meeting, personal and dimmed. Another calendar block appeared and went quiet. Downtown 1340. I told him he was building mystery. He said he was being careful. I said careful and love are not the same. He said care is sometimes quiet. He turned the screen away and set his phone face down. The gesture was tidy, not cruel. I tried to move the air with nice things. I set our 2 mugs closer and took a photo with soft light. I posted the picture with the caption teamwork. The comments were thin and formal. Ria wrote, "Keep your crown, sis." Marjorie did not reply to my check-in about Liam's weekend plan. Silence drew a frame around me. I carried laundry up the stairwell. Halfway up, footsteps paused on the landing above me. A faint beep cut off, the quick sound a recording app makes when it stops. I looked up. Ethan stood by the guest room with his phone in his hand. I asked if he was recording me. He said he was recording himself so he could keep his line steady. I said lines for what? He said for staying calm and clear. I said clarity can be cruel. He said clarity can be kind. The guest room door eased almost shut. Liam called on video with Marjorie. He asked if we were coming to the long table on Friday. I said yes and used my soft voice. He asked why I would sleep at Dante's if our house is close. I said it was safety. He asked if safety means not coming home. I said safety is smart. He said smart feels different to him. Marjorie said routine helps children sleep. The call ended with a wave. I held the phone and did not breathe for a moment. The wall planner had changed. A thin red circle wrapped Friday. I did not draw it. I wrote family dinner under it and drew a small heart. The heart looked weak next to the circle. I rubbed the pencil marks with my thumb and felt the paper give a little. Back in the study, Ethan's laptop woke again. A small bubble popped near the corner. File uploaded successfully. The screen went dark. I stood very still and thought about the word upload. It sounds like lifting a heavy box to a top shelf where no one can knock it down. I felt suddenly far from the floor. I went to the balcony for air and held my phone high like a flag. I wrote a caption I did not post. Safety is love in a city. I deleted it and put the phone down. I watched a bus turn the corner and wished it would circle my block until it forgot where to go. I set the mugs back on opposite counters, the honest picture again. I took the blank page from the printer and folded it once, then again, then once more until it became a small white square. I pressed it in my pocket. It felt like nothing and also like a thing. I told myself the story needed a brighter room. Ria said her friend had a rooftop pregame before the club and that the skyline made everything look modern. I wore a clean dress with sleeves I could push up or slide down. I said to the mirror that I would sell the plan as safety and growth. The elevator doors opened to music and string lights. The city spread like a map made of lamps. Ria hugged me and said the night was mine to steer. I said there was nothing to steer, only fears to calm. She laughed and said, I always talk like a press release. I slipped my sleeve up an inch and showed my wrist stamp from the club line last week. I called it networking. A few friends clapped at the word like it was a switch. Ethan stood with Silas near a row of potted trees. They looked down at traffic as if the road could make a ruling. I walked over and said we should take a couple of photos. Ethan said later. I said later was a moving target and the camera was in my hand. He said we would keep the evening simple. Silas nodded at me and then watched a light turn red. A chant rose from the long table. People tapped glasses and called my name. I raised mine because the first voice can shape the rest. I said smart women line up safe places at night and do not gamble on rides at 2. I said staying near the club was called planning, and adults should respect planning. I said Ethan was careful at work, and I was careful in life, so we matched. Phones went up like flowers. A camera flash popped white and quick. I felt seen and safe at the same time, like a person inside a bright circle. Someone near the DJ started a recording. The red dot blinked. I spoke in a soft voice made for microphones. I said I might sleep at Dante's after the set, because his spare room was 2 blocks away, and my stop was 5, and math wins at night. Laughter came in waves. A woman called me brave. I said brave and practical were the same word in heels. Ethan stood near the railing. He did not take my hand. I checked my phone under the table lip. A message from Dante waited. He wrote that he did not want to be named in domestic comments and he hoped I kept things calm. I wrote back that he was just a safe friend. He did not reply. I slid the phone into my purse like a hot coin and told myself the origin story belonged to me, not to him. We moved to the club at midnight. The patio smelled like sugar and smoke. Ria asked for a clean context video so the internet would behave. I looked at the lens and said, staying with Dante was about safety and networking, not romance, and that old rules do not fit a city. People around us laughed at the beats I set out for them. Another flash went off and turned the patio fog into a curtain. I felt strong because a camera was pointed at me and because my voice sounded polished. Ethan waited near the exit with his hands in his pockets. I said we should record a joint clip about city safety. He said we would go home. I said the night still had jobs for me. He said our home had one job and it was waiting. The music jumped into the space between us and made sentences shake. We left early. The parking garage air tasted like dust and old toner. A hum came from somewhere, the way printers hum after they finish a run. Ethan opened the trunk to set his jacket down. A clipboard lay underneath. The top page showed one word, printed and simple. Statement. I asked if he was writing speeches. He said notes help him keep the peace. I said notes can be knives with paper handles. He closed the trunk with a careful hand, as if sound could bruise. His car was parked nose out toward the ramp. Mine faced a wall painted with stripes that chipped like old rules. He took a tiny USB stick from the console, tore a strip of tape, wrote the date, and slid it under a folder labeled taxes in the side pocket. I said he was building a museum of cold things. He said he was making sure warmth did not burn the house. I said the house was not on fire. He said houses burn without smoke if you ignore sparks. On the drive, my phone buzzed once. An unknown number flashed and died before I could read it. The sound left a small circle in the air like a dropped coin. I told myself wrong numbers follow bold women. I also told myself I wanted to call Ethan's name and say I was scared of stairs at 2 a.m. Both ideas fought and both lost. At home, I posted a rooftop shot with a caption about city prudence. The hearts came slow. Ria sent a flame. Marjorie said nothing online. Mr. Velas liked the post with no comment, which felt like a note pinned to a door. In the study, Ethan's laptop glowed. A spreadsheet with initials and dates sat open like a list of small truths. When I stepped closer to read, the window minimized. He slid his chair in and said we could talk when the room was quiet. I said I was quiet now. He said quiet is not a volume, quiet is a stance. His phone blinked with a reminder, downtown 1605. The numbers felt like stones I could not move. He placed 2 glasses to dry at opposite ends of the rack and went down the hall. The guest room door eased toward shut. Family dinner felt like a chance to fix the frame with manners. We met at a long table, in a family restaurant, paper menus, birthday song 3 tables over. I wore a soft sweater that hid the stamp, and I kept my voice light. I said to myself that I would call the plan smart and modern. I said the table would agree because I would smile while I said it. Marjorie hugged Liam first, then Ethan. She gave me a polite nod that felt like a rule. Ria came late and squeezed my hand. She whispered that I should sell the night as city safety training. I said I would sell it as respect for women's travel. The server poured water. The glasses made small, clear sounds. I stood to lift a glass. I said, families should love practical truth. I said my plan was mature because the city is big and nights are long. I said, staying near the club is smart, like bringing an umbrella when the forecast is vague. Marjorie kept her glass down. She asked how Liam was sleeping with all the changes. I said he slept fine when we kept the lights warm. She said children read rooms before they read books. I said our room was bright. She set the salt shaker straight like she was lining up a form. Liam looked at me and asked why I would sleep at Dante's if Uncle Ethan sleeps at home. Forks paused above plates. I laughed and called it grown-up safety math. He asked if safety means not coming home. I said safety means smart choices. He said smart felt different to him. Ethan asked if he wanted noodles or rice. Liam said rice and kept looking at me. Marjorie said routines help children sleep. The birthday song finished across the room and felt too loud. I tried to pull the tone back over to me. I said Dante is a friend with a spare room 2 blocks from the club. I said it was about avoiding risk, not about hearts. Ria said city women know. Marjorie asked if informed men must accept plans that make them smaller in their own houses. I said no one was smaller. She looked at Ethan's face and said nothing else. Calm is a tool if you use it first. I smiled and ordered dessert for the table. I said we should walk to the park after, get air, and reset. People agreed with the movement, if not the idea. At the playground, the swings moved like slow clocks. Liam asked if smart rules can still cut people. I said hurt is a choice. He asked whose choice. I said sometimes it is shared. He said it did not feel shared. He slid down and stood with his arms straight, like a person balancing on a line. Marjorie watched him with a calm face that felt like weather you cannot change. Back home, the stairwell smelled faintly of paper and dust. I carried a bag with milk and soap. Halfway up, footsteps paused on the landing above me. A faint beep cut off, the sound of a recording app when a door opens. I looked up. Ethan stood near the guest room with his phone in his hand. I asked if he was recording me again. He said he was recording himself to keep his lines steady. I said, lines for what? He said, lines for staying calm and clear. I said, clarity can be unkind. He said, clarity can be safe. He stepped into the guest room and the door eased almost shut. I went to the kitchen and set 2 mugs on opposite counters. Pretending they were close had started to feel like a trick. I said we should post a picture together and a caption about rules that protect women. He said we would be respectful and clear, not performative. I said clarity feels like a wall. He said walls keep storms outside. His voice stayed level, like a path that does not bend. I touched his laptop lid with 2 fingers. The screen woke and showed a clean desktop with 2 new folders side by side, Archive A and Archive B. He came from the hall and closed the lid gently. Not fast, just final. I said archiving a marriage felt cold. He said saving truth is warmth that lasts. I said warmth is soft. He said soft catches fire. The sentences passed each other like trains that never share a station. The wall planner had changed again. A heavy red circle wrapped Friday. Next to it, a pencil note appeared while I looked. Downtown 10:20. I did not see his hand move. I wrote family dinner under the circle and drew a small heart. The heart slid to one side and looked unsure. I took Liam to the supermarket for juice boxes. At the checkout, a neighbor I half knew asked if we were happy. I said we were thriving and made the word big. The scanner beeped in a flat rhythm. Liam asked if staying safe means leaving someone alone at home. I said, safety is care. He asked if care felt like leaving. I said, adults know the difference. He looked at the floor tiles as if they came with answers. On the way back, Mr. Vella stood by the mailboxes flipping envelopes like cards. He looked up once and then away. I balanced the bag on my hip and took a breath like a person about to swim. Inside, the pause returned. Footsteps held still above me. The faint beep stopped again. I reached the landing as Ethan slipped his phone into his pocket and moved toward the study. I followed because following can be a kind of love. He opened a narrow drawer, placed something inside, and turned a small key. The lock clicked with a clean note. On his screen, tabs flashed and minimized. Storage options, delivery tracking, notary near me. A small bubble appeared and vanished. File uploaded successfully. I said he was turning our life into a filing cabinet. He said order keeps people safe from stories that slide. I said stories are alive. He said living things need fences. I set my palms on the cool counter and tried to feel like a fence that could bend without breaking. I posted a photo of the 2 mugs, far apart, captioned Finding Rhythm. The hearts were slow. Ria texted that she loved me, but would not fight with Marjorie online. Marjorie texted Liam's schedule with times underlined. I told myself tomorrow I would build a better caption, the one that would explain everything. I practiced the word silently, while the house listened and did not agree. I booked a small conference nook at a co-working space by the river and sent Ethan a shared invite. I wrote that we should talk like adults and reset. He arrived on time with that calm that slows the air. I placed his favorite pastry on the table and called it a peace sign. He thanked me and asked which days I could take Liam this week. I said logistics were not love. He said children walk on logistics when feelings slide. The air handler hummed like a careful teacher. I said we should post a new photo and say we were fine. He said posts were not a plan. I said image is part of care. He said care is steps we keep. On the chair beside him lay a clipboard. The top page held one word in clean type. Statement. I leaned to read more. He moved the board a little, not fast, just away. I asked if he was writing speeches now. He said notes help him avoid words he cannot take back. I said notes are knives with paper handles. He said knives are loud. He was building quiet. We walked to the pharmacy because I needed lip balm. The lights there were too honest. His phone lit with a call labeled private. He stepped outside, put on headphones, and paced under the awning with that slow, even mouth. I told myself it was Silas about work. I also told myself it was a rehearsal for leaving. He came back and asked if I had what I needed. I said I needed him to say he trusted me. He said trust follows facts. I said facts follow stories. He paid for the balm and said we would keep our voices low for Liam. In the parking garage, he opened the trunk to slide his bag inside. 3 neat binders sat there in a row. Home, auto, bank. Clear sleeves caught the dim light. A single USB had a strip of tape with today's date. The small, unfamiliar key on his ring flashed. I asked what it opened. He said it opened what needed opening. I called it cryptic. He said it was precise. His car waited nose out, mine faced concrete. At home, his laptop woke. Tabs flashed and hid. Storage options, delivery tracking, notary near me. A small bubble slid across the corner. File uploaded successfully. He slid open a narrow drawer, placed something inside, and turned the small key. The lock clicked with a clean note that felt like a period. I tried another angle. I said I might fall apart if distance kept going. I said food tasted like paper and sleep would not come. He said threats were not a path. He said if I was unwell, he would drive me to the doctor or ask his mother to sit with Liam. He said fear would not steer our home. I said Marjorie was running him like a file. He said routine was not a whip. It was a rail. We ate with quiet hands. Liam spoke about a bridge made from straws. I reached for Ethan's wrist so the table would look soft. He moved his hand away gently and asked Liam about glue. After dishes, the shredder hummed in the study for 3 slow seconds and then fell silent. He stood by the wall planner. A reminder blinked on his phone and dimmed. Downtown, 15:35. The digits felt like stones rolling downhill. I followed him to the kitchen. I said we needed a weekend reset, a short trip, a fresh set of photos. He said we would keep things steady and follow routines. I said steady is a costume for distance. He said distance is a boundary when rooms go loud. I said I could fix this if he would play along. He said he would handle it properly. He said the word like a lever pulled all the way down. I said properly is a slogan for people who hide. He said properly is protection. He switched off the light. The dark agreed with him. I chose marble and echo because bright places make people kind. I went to the courthouse lobby at lunch and stood near the directory screens. Footsteps made a pattern that sounded like rules. I rehearsed a small speech about safety and city nights. I told myself, if I reached for his hand here, he would remember the team we used to be. Silas entered first and saw me. He asked if I was meeting Ethan. I said yes, and that we would clear the air. He nodded and stood by security like a quiet witness. Ethan appeared a minute later, with his bag strapped straight and his face calm. He stopped 3 paces away. I stepped forward and said we should be normal and tell the room we were fine. He said we would follow the plan. I asked what plan. He said the plan that keeps things clear and civil. From a bench near a planter, a man in a neutral jacket stood and said my full name. The sound carried across the marble like a bell that belongs to the building. He asked if I was that person. I said yes because it was my name. He placed a stack in my hands and said the delivery was complete. The paper had weight. It changed how my shoulders sat. The top page said petition. The lines were clean. Temporary orders spoke about use of the residence and rules for access. There were limits on accounts, so no one could make sudden changes. A section required written-only communication for any shared logistics and no scenes at handoffs. A brief demand asked me to remove posts and clips that tied Ethan's identity to my overnight at Dante's speech. A first date sat on the page like a stone at the top of stairs. The words were not angry. They were arranged like furniture you could not move. I told Ethan we could fix this at home with tea and careful voices. He said we would follow the orders. I said he was choosing strangers over his wife. He said he was choosing stability. I said he was punishing me for being smart. He said public repair begins with rules when harm started in public. He thanked the server for being professional. The man nodded and sat down. People near us looked at their phones with sudden care, the way people look at anything that is not a woman holding papers. My phone buzzed. Marjorie texted that routine helps Liam and that we should follow the schedule. Ria wrote that she loved me but could not take sides. I read both lines twice and could not make them change. I said the overnight was practical, not betrayal. He said the papers spoke for themselves. I said I was scared. He said we would communicate in writing now. His voice stayed level, like a hallway without doors. The elevator bell chimed. Silas held the door with one hand and watched the floor. Ethan took a step toward the elevator and paused. I lifted my hand like a person asking to cross. I said we were still us. He said we would follow the schedule. He said, take care. The bell chimed again, patient and final. Security asked softly if I was okay. I said I was fine because fine fits any public space. The word temporary near the top of a page looked like a brand. The marble showed me smaller than I wanted to be. Ethan stepped into the elevator. Silas released the door. The chrome lines met in the middle with a quiet seal. The air went thin. The stack rested in my hands. The result had already started. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.